We are live with our interview series, and I am so thankful and grateful for the ways that we get to meet who we meet and when we meet them. And Krysta came through my hockey, my son's hockey team. Oh my gosh, it's the craziest thing. The world of hockey has been wild. We've been on different teams, and this last season, I got to meet Krista's sister, Sarah. And through this amazing journey of Sarah's teas and learning more about homeopathy, then we were able to connect online, and Krista joined us for our Worthy Collective. And in the meantime, she ran like a freaking marathon. And like, I was like, whoa, 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 hold on. I need to know you because there's something special about setting a goal and achieving it. But yet, there's something different about setting a goal physically. And some of us have all talked about walking, running, 5Ks, half marathons, marathons, and this woman before you has done that, and she's done it in all sorts of different ways. And what's even more exciting, she literally has some great news to share that has just happened this last week. And what I love the most about the opportunity to do a real interview is that we get to learn from each other and we get to inspire each other because we've all had those days, those weeks, sometimes months, sometimes a season, sometimes a freaking year or two or more that we are like, what was going on? My head was in the sand, my body was stuck in a hole. Like, what is going on? And I really love bringing to surface those reflections and those opportunities. And so I'm so thankful that Krista is here. She's going to share more about her story, and the journey in which it has taken her to be here. And so I'm so thankful for your precious time, especially knowing all the things that you have going on. And you're in North Carolina. And because of this beautiful technology and the Zoom that we have, that we can be together online here. I'm so thankful. So, would you mind sharing a little bit more about you, as much as you want to share, as far back, or, things that you think would be really helpful to inspire others to either step in, to ask for help, to be encouraged, wherever they might have found themselves. And when they stumble upon this, that they can be like, like be a beacon of hope.
Yes, I would love to share. Thank you for having me. And it is so wonderful that we get to meet through Zoom, because otherwise I might never meet you in person. Um,
I know. No, exactly.
so I am actually in the process of training for a marathon. My marathon is officially May 16th. I have done two real half marathons where I go through the finish line. And then as I'm training for the marathon, each week I add a mile. So last Sunday I ran 18 miles. This Sunday I'm running 19, and then so on until it's time for the marathon. Um,
Oh my gosh.
it's a lot. um, and yes, I have had a huge life change. Yesterday was my last day at the job that I've been at for the last 6 years that I have loved very, very much. It was sad and it was exciting and it was bittersweet and lots of emotions. And I would love to dive into that as well. I think in order to kind of, so in order to tell you how I, how I operate today, it's going to be really helpful for you to kind of to take you back and see where I was in the beginning, which was very, very, very different from where I am today. Um, so years and years and years ago, I played soccer. I loved it. I was super healthy. I was in great shape. I had great friends. Um, and this was, when I was a teenager, so I was very young. And things happen as they do in life. Some of them were, you know, m- more traumatic, I think, and it led me down a path. I won't talk too much about that, but basically, I ended up my entire 20s, I was struggling with addiction, I was struggling with alcoholism, um, and I was just in a very dark place. I was, I wasn't really moving forward in life. I wasn't running. I wasn't doing soccer. I wasn't doing anything that I loved. I wasn't really even doing a ton of art, although I tried. And looking back at the art that I made during that time, like it's nothing that I'm really proud of. I was just constantly at war with myself.
Mm,
Um, and got to a point one day where I was kind of just in the worst place. And I basically was sitting there on a puddle on my floor. Um, just, I had to decide, am I going to stop what I'm doing and redirect my life and possibly keep living and having a life that is worth living? Or am I going to give up? And if I give up, I'm not going to make it. Um, I the one of the things that really truly convinced me um, to move forward was that if I didn't change at that point, I was going to die. Um, and I wasn't necessarily, you know, I probably I don't like to compare myself to anyone, especially in that state. But I know that there are people who have come back from much worse than me.
mm,
For me, it was really hard. Um, and I'm so thankful of, my family sticking by me because when I did make that change, when I did, decide this is it, I have to change everything. I have to start over from scratch. I lost my job, I lost my friends, I lost everything. I almost lost my apartment. And I really had to just completely start over. I had my family, and that's what held me through everything. But yeah, so starting over when you're in such a vulnerable place, you know, obviously at that time, everybody knew that I was trouble and, it, and I know that people were kind of watching, like, is she gonna fall again? Is she gonna, and I had to just stop focusing on what I thought other people were thinking about me. And I had to just keep taking one foot forward. Sometimes it was 1 minute forward. Just get through this 1 minute. And then slowly I started to build myself back up. Um, After I'd say about 1 or 2 months, I really started to feel good. Um, and when I did decide to make this change, I didn't know how long it was going to last. I was just like, you know what? What I was doing obviously wasn't working. So let's see how far I can go. Let's see how long I can do this. Maybe I make it a year. Um, and I remember at the time thinking how cool it would be if I could just make it 1 year. Um, and so I got through the first week, which I think was the hardest. And then I got through the first month and slowly started to feel real again. And then as I got to like, I think month 3, um, I started to feel joy again. I started painting again. This
mm,
was during COVID. This was like, I quit right before COVID happened. And so it was like, it was the ultimate test, I think. If I could get through, isolation and COVID and the world being completely chaotic, if I could get through that, I could get through anything.
Mhm.
Um, and so, yeah, the first few months were the hardest. And then as I started painting again and I started doing things that I loved again, um, I got the job that I have been working at for the last 6 years, um, and started working there, and it changed my life. And then, of course, when COVID happened, they shut down, and then I was fully, um, fully in isolation. And but I was painting, and I was, you know, like my focus was no longer how do I destroy myself. It was more how do I build myself back up from the ground. And so I was trying new things. I did try running. I think I got, at first it was so hard to even run a mile. Um, I I remember doing it was like run walk the whole time. I could run for 30 seconds and then I could walk for 30 seconds and then I could run and walk. And then slowly after a while I was like, can I go farther? Can I run for longer? And a little bit at a time, I started to do more, longer distance for longer. And then eventually it was like I can run a full mile without stopping. And then it was like, okay, well, what's next? I can run a 5K. Okay. Can I run a full 5K without walking? And that was a challenge, and slowly building myself up and being able to do that. Um, but while COVID was going on and while the world was shut down, I was focusing on myself. I was focusing on art. I was learning about finances. I was trying to teach myself, you know, how what how do stocks work, um, and I was just actively trying to build myself up. And then when my job reopened, um, I went back. At when they let everybody go, there were, I want to say, almost 400 people on that call, and then when they reopened, there were only 70 people. Um, so it was like not a lot of people came back, and everything was different. Structurally, the entire organization had to adapt. But what happened was that opened up a lot of opportunities for me, who was, previously just a newbie. I was like, throw me anywhere, let me do anything. I can help. I can do this. I can, I can be on the floor. I can learn stage shows. I can learn about animals and do animal programming. Um, and just kind of being in the right place at the right time, um, was something that really opened a lot of doors for me. And I know, I wouldn't, if I hadn't quit when I did, I wouldn't have been, um, present for when those opportunities showed up. I wouldn't have been, mentally or physically. I probably wouldn't have even bothered applying to the job. um, but so everything changed, and then they created this new team. It was a hybrid team, and it was a creative development team. And so for the last 5 years, my job has been, um, designing experiences, designing content, all STEM design content, which is what I love. I got to be creative, artistic. I got to, teach people, new skills with tools and things like that. We had a maker space, and after COVID, it was totally neglected, and abandoned because the team that was taking care of it before COVID didn't come back, and so I took over that space. I created new systems for tools, new systems for training staff on how to develop the skills and the confidence that they needed to be able to um, offer tools in a safe environment. And so that's been my life for the last 6 years. And then in January, well, let me take it back just a little bit before that. So when I started the role that I was in before, I created some goals for myself, and um, it wasn't, my priority was kind of taking care of the makerspace, and there were a lot of machines in the makerspace that I didn't know how to use, and so I had to teach myself well enough to be able to teach other people. And so my number one project was this big industrial laser engraver. Um, that it was like learning that was like learning another language. And it took me, I didn't really truly start focusing on it until about 3 years ago. And so for the last 3 years, I've been like, okay, how do I do this? And how do I figure out how to problem solve when there's things like network connection issues, or how do I teach that to somebody else?
Mhm.
And so um that I finally achieved that back in, it was like June, I think. And when I hit that goal, when I finally got it operating the way that I needed it to, and I was like, I could teach somebody right now. um I was like, I just reached like the goal that I wanted to reach. Um, and it was kind of in that moment where I was just like, what else do I do now? If I did what I wanted to do, well, what do so I started trying to like create new goals for myself. And then it's so weird when something that I've noticed is that when life has a plan for you, it doesn't matter what your plan is, um, because it's going to happen anyways. And so, I was trying to find reasons to stay, and I was, um, coming up with, excuses for like, if something wasn't making me truly happy, I was like, well, then I need to shift my mind. I need to, maybe it's me. And the chief science officer was this wonderful lady, and she always advocated for my team. And in July, right after I figured out the laser engraver, in July, she left the company and went to go be CEO of a company in Nevada. And shortly after that, another one of my bosses, who was also someone, I probably my greatest teacher while I was at Discovery Place. Um, he left and became the CEO of a company um, in Charlotte. It's our Raptor Center, so he's working there now. And so I started having all these people that would advocate for my team, um, you know, leaving the company. And then in January, um, it got to a point where the people who remained were kind of deconstructing my team
Mhm.
and vying for control of us. And um, they revoked our hybrid status, which, as you know, hybrid has a lot of wonderful benefits. Um,
Mhm.
and as a creative team, I work really well when I can zero in on my, what I'm researching and what I'm doing when I'm in a safe space and when I'm
Mhm.
at home. Um, and so I tried to adapt. Um, and when they took away our hybrid, they asked us, like, you can write a letter, and explain why you think that, you know, we should keep our hybrid. And so everyone on my team wrote a letter, and this letter went to the chief learning officer. And I was told that the letter would go to the board. I don't think it did, but that's besides the point. um, and so we all wrote letters, and then we had a meeting where we were, allowed to come and talk about, or ask questions and talk it out. And it just not did not go well. It actually went horribly. At that point, I had been like talking myself into, it's okay. I don't need hybrid. I can make it work. I can do this. I love this job, and I've loved it for 6 years. I can stay here and I can work through this. And then that meeting changed everything for me, because it was no longer like, we value your team. And it was more just like, we're making this change and you can adapt or you can quit. And I didn't feel, I was already kind of like, I don't feel like this is the place for me anymore. And so, I started looking, um, and as I was looking, I was just like, how am I ever going to find a job like this? This job, like, I have the weirdest skills. My skills are like, I can use tools and I can teach people how to use tools, and I can create content, and I can run a maker space. I was like, how am I ever going to work in like an office job? I would be bored out of my mind. And then this job, I actually only applied to 4 places, but I was taking my time, and I spent so much time like curating each resume to everything that I wanted to apply to. And I, curated my cover letter to be like, I would research the company. I took a lot of time on each job that I applied to. And the one that I got an interview with, I was expecting to talk to, I thought he was maybe HR or something from the way I was talking to him. And when I got on that first interview call, it was a woman who was on the other line. And she was like, I just wanted you to know I hand selected your resume because of your makerspace experience. And you'll understand why in a second, but I really wanted to get to know you. This woman is the founder of this company. She,
I have
it's,
the chills. I have the chills
yeah,
right now. Like
yes.
seriously.
It
Oh
was
my
it
gosh.
was crazy to me. She basically, this school is a non-traditional hybrid school that really focuses on individualized learning. And so 2 days a week they're in person, and they get to do really cool hands-on things. Um, and then the rest of the time they're remote.
Mm.
And um, and they want to build a maker space. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I was just like, this is the job, okay. And when I toured their campus and I saw just how much potential there was, like, it is a startup company. There is risk, but they're not they're they I think they've been around since before, um or right after COVID. COVID is what inspired their creation.
Hmm.
So they have been around for a little while. Um, and so I'm going into this fully aware that I'm, getting away from the comfort of a stable, you know, job that doesn't particularly appreciate or value me anymore, and moving into a new role that does have risks, but they're exciting.
Hmm.
They're going to challenge me. I'm scared and excited, and it's so, yeah, I put in my 2 weeks, and yesterday was my last day. I closed down the maker space, um and I start Monday, and then in May I'm running a marathon. And it's I am a totally different person today than I was 6 years ago, and I've changed a lot. I have grown a lot. Um, and now it's like I can look at everyone in my life and know that they are cheering me on and that they're not, they're not fake friends. They're not, you know, it's, I have been able to make such wonderful connections with people because I am present, I am here, and I am actively trying to make my life and the life of everyone around me better. So it's a
Oh
coming.
my goodness. Well,
Yeah,
this is what's wild is that I feel like I know you through Sarah, but I don't know you. You know what I mean? Like you know, and
yeah,
many times as I giggle when I see her, like when we saw each other Wednesday, I was like, "Hey, are you going?" She's like, "I'm going to what?" Like, and we, as much as we see each other, don't see each other, I didn't know your story, and it's so
yeah. I
special.
don't talk about it a lot, and I just felt like if I was really gonna share, you know, I then I'm gonna share. But yeah, that's it's not something I talk about because it's like I'm present now. I'm living in today, and um, I'm living in the moment, and I'm living for my future. But if I don't stop and acknowledge where I've come from, then am I really aligned? I guess is how I.
There's no guessing, sweetheart. You are 100% aligned. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I've taken 2 pages as notes because I was
Oh
like,
my
oh
gosh.
my gosh. Um, and I loved if I go back talking about that you were at constant war with yourself and
Yeah.
how many times we don't realize, and this is for everyone, yet there's something special, I believe, for women that we don't acknowledge those seasons that we are. You know what I mean? Like we're so freaking hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And when it becomes about everyone else instead of ourselves, you know, there's so much judgment. I mean, we have enough judgment in the world, but to judge ourselves is like so hard. No wonder you felt like so heavy. You know what I mean? Like that heaviness was real. And what I wrote down that I just gave me the chills when you said it was that you decided. You decided that you wanted to redirect your life and you essentially changed everything. And it's wild because one of my clients sent me a little video and I'll have to make sure I can find it. Um, I think you'd appreciate it more than anything. Yet it hit me today that so many times we want to make decisions, we want to do something different, but we don't. Or we make this little slight, like, well, I'm just going to move my desk instead
Yeah.
of like really like overhaul, like, shifting and like changing the room around, or you know what I mean? Like doing something so that our body really truly feels it instead of this.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think,
I'm gonna, or you know what
yeah,
I mean? Like,
it's making a commitment and
mm,
sticking to it.
mm,
And that for me, as someone who couldn't commit to anything, I
mm.
was, I wasn't really sure what I was committing to. I knew I needed to change. And I think I was committing to life and I wasn't sure what that meant.
Mhm.
And so each day, kind of like resetting, okay, what am I committing to today? I'm still committing to life. I want to keep, you know, but I think I also, what does that mean?
Mm.
So maybe today I'm going for a walk, and that is my, moment of self. I don't even know. Maybe self care, I guess.
You know what?
Taking care.
I want to pause right there because
Okay.
something that I've really reflected on, one of our mentors in the Worthy Collective, she is a self-care coach. And we've been working together in like deepening her service and, a lot of the things that she does because she's been a massage therapist for 30 years. So, I mean, there's nobody more intimate than the person who's gonna work on you naked,
Yeah.
essentially. I
Yep.
mean, a little bit of coverage there, but like so intimate physically. And what I've really been realizing is it's more about self-respect. Because you can be like, oh, I need a facial. That was self-care. I'm gonna get my nails done. That's self-care. But like the self-respect that you're talking a whole deeper level of like, no, not going to
Yeah.
go there anymore. I'm not going to allow that thought process, that expectation, that garbage, you
Yeah.
know, like not going to let that seep in, which, it does. It seeps in when we have everyone else's like thoughts, comments, opinions, blah, 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 and then all
Yep.
of a sudden we don't want to get out of bed.
You have to silence it and you have to focus on what it is that truly drives you. And I think at that moment I didn't fully know. I just knew, okay, art makes me happy. I was happy when I, used to run. I was happy when I played soccer. And I tried to make those connections of like, okay, I don't think I will ever be that person again, but let's stick to the things that I really liked and figure out how I can stop being the person I am now and become somebody potentially a little bit better. And so each day I try to be a little bit better than I was the day before and a little bit better. And eventually, I looked in the mirror and I liked who I saw. And yeah, it's been a journey,
Well,
long
and I
one.
think what's so inspiring about that is that it wasn't in competition with anyone else, only yourself.
It's funny before we got on this call, I was thinking about, okay, well, what can I talk about? And, in terms of even just running, if I'm not talking about all of that other stuff, just when I'm running, um, I don't I don't race to compete against the other people in the race. I'm always competing um, against myself. So my very first half marathon, I think I did like 2 hours and 30 minutes. And then the second one I did was 2 hours and 17 minutes. And I know that wasn't like a whole ton of a difference, but I competed against myself and I did a little bit better.
Hmm.
And so if you take that and just take that mentality and run with it in every direction of your life, and you're always trying to do a little bit better. Um, but yeah, competing with other people can, I mean, obviously people do compete in sports, but I just think if you're thinking about improving your life, don't use someone else's life as a measuring stick uh, for your own worth.
Hmm.
And um, yeah, just try to
That's,
focus on yourself.
I agree. I think it's that old statement of don't compare, apples to oranges. They're
Yeah,
fruit. They're not the same. You know
yeah,
what I mean? One has what something I've learned lately is one has some fiber and one has vitamin C. You know what I mean? Like they have different benefits.
yeah.
And, it's so significant to recognize. So I love that reminder. I love it. So, yeah, it's absolutely incredible to have you realize that that creativity was in you. You have it, and you had said something about some of your paintings that you weren't really proud of. Well, I think if anything, it sounds like it's a story, and we forget about those chapters of our story that really it was something special and it was what it was. And then to see
Yeah,
your elevation or your of how you've evolved.
progression.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, like I was trying,
yeah,
yeah, how
yeah,
you evolve, like literally have it on the wall, like, here's this. But isn't that about everything? You're speaking, you're running, like all
yeah,
these things that we forget that there's progress and that, there's progress in the whole part of it, like probably how you set yourself up to run, how you prepare yourself now. You have different socks, somebody
yep,
was just telling me he is a runner. and he was talking about his underwear. He was like, like these little silly things that we take for granted, but he went running and he was like, I had to stop and take them off because they were hurting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's those little things that, he could have kept him on and just been miserable, but he was like,
Yeah.
nope, I got to make some edits. It's
Yeah.
those edits in life. And then we had a funny story that he could share about the experience. And you're like, oh, how many times have we had that happen to us? And we either don't fix it and stay miserable, or we come along somebody who's like, oh, yeah, do this instead. Oh,
Yeah.
thanks. You know what I mean? Like there's so many other blessings in the flurry of it all.
Yeah. You can sit around and be miserable, or you can put yourself in the position to listen or look out for help
Mm.
or take, yeah.
I teach something it's called, it's actually had a couple of different names. I'm not really sure which one I like better. They're the same. If you picture a loop or the infinity loop, or an eight that's sideways, um, I like to think of us as raising the bar, which is what you did for yourself. You literally raised the bar of your life and said, I'm no longer going to sit in this yuck. I'm going to elevate to something. And it was that little calibration of like the decision, the joy, the questions that you could ask yourself so you didn't fall into those terrible feelings anymore that we all have had. It's just how long have we stayed there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you haven't had them, it's coming. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's a part of life and understanding that it's there. So in this loop, it's the part of believing that there's something greater, better, bigger, better, the belief right there within ourselves. And then
Mhm.
it goes down into that little loop of ask. You asked yourself questions like, you know, where am I going to be? What's this going to do? Then you allowed some influences. You allowed, like you said, different parts that you asked, who you asked. You asked yourself questions. Sometimes that question starts with us first, and then
Mhm.
you receive something greater, which from what it sounds to me, it just gave me the chills, was in month number 3 you felt joy. You allowed yourself to receive joy in a completely different way. And then you got back on that train of like, okay, what's next? Okay. You know what I mean? Like, really allow yourself. And so many times, I believe as humans, we get stuck in that middle section where, like, kind of believe in something, whatever that something is. And then we're just dead in the middle of the loop, like not moving anywhere. And it
Yeah.
can feel like a really dark, unfortunate space because we're not willing to step into asking and, the cycle, or what I love to say is the rhythm,
Mhm.
the rhythm. I'm sure you get, well, the rhythm in your runs where you're like, I've got my breathing, I drink the right things, I ate the right things. You know what I mean? You're in a good rhythm and you're like, and it's nice if the sun is shining,
Yeah. But every now and then, even when I'm like, if I'm running a long distance, there will be very similar ups and downs. There will be a point where maybe I'm at mile 10 and I'm just like, I can't go on. And then um, what I have to do, what really gets me through that is just, you know, being completely honest with myself and also listening to not just my present self, but my past self. So if I made a promise to myself, like, yes, I'm going out there and I'm running 19 miles, then I'm running 19 miles. Um, I will periodically give myself little like mile markers, like, okay, at the top of that hill, I can walk for 30 seconds. Um, and by not quitting on myself and like stopping early, and by sticking to, being keeping my word with myself essentially, and it's like it creates this almost trust within myself. It's like, okay, yeah, you know what? I did this once before. I got through it and I can do it again. And then those difficult parts, um, they become easier to navigate. They will always be uncomfortable. They will always not feel good. And you'd be lying to yourself if you said otherwise, but you can get through them with more grace and more dignity and um, with practice. And so yeah, my mile 10 might be horrible. And then if I get through that really uncomfortable thing without quitting, then maybe mile 12, I'll start to feel good again. And all right, I'm going downhill. I'm feeling good. I've got, my music's playing, my favorite songs on, and suddenly things are feeling good again. And I can get to mile 16, no problem. And then maybe mile 16 is really hard again.
Mm.
Um, and then I'm like, okay, I did this before. I'm going to do it again. And keeping that mentality is kind of, I think, obviously I haven't run the full marathon yet, but I like to think that that's what's going to pull me through. Um, it's running a marathon. It's crazy. I mean, I always thought, how cool would it be? Um, my dad has run, I think, 13 or 14. He's run a ton, and he's kind of my inspiration for this.
Mm.
Because I'm like, if he can do it, I'm gonna try to do it. And
Well,
so
you're
having,
not okay. So you're
yeah,
you're not trying,
I'm doing,
you're
yes.
doing.
Yeah,
Sorry.
bless you.
100% in the doing. Yeah, I don't think your sister warned you. I am the word police, and that word is one of the really, really challenging words to me because I know what we mean by it.
Yeah,
Like we're gonna give something a go, but when we say that word try, like it's not really a thing. I can pick up my pen, but
I
if I
love,
said I'm gonna try it, it's just right here. But
yeah.
it's when we and what you did and your sharing is you took this to this. You took that 6-inch drop from your head to your heart to say, I deserve better. I'm not
Yeah.
going to do this anymore. I'm not going to think this way. I'm going to choose another way. And you've done it every minute, every day. You've done it consistently. And running physically is also mentally, like if I've heard anything about the marathon, it's mind over matter, in the
Mhm.
biggest way. So that's what's so beautiful. And I love that I didn't know that your dad ran too. That's so awesome.
So actually, he's running this with me.
Is he really? Your
He is.
marathon on the 16th?
Yep. Yep.
Aww.
We've been training together.
What?
Yeah.
And where is this?
It's gonna be in the Blue Ridge Parkway in North Carolina, along a river. It's like 23 miles of it is along a river, so it's gonna be really beautiful. And it'll be warm, which will be nice. But yeah, he's been through every step of the way. We ran the both of the half marathons together, and it's so cute. So we have this like ritual. He travels, so the next last week and this Sunday I'm running by myself. But then the following week we'll run together. Um, but we have like this, so we run, and then after we run we meet up with my mom and we get coffee and breakfast and kind of like celebrate, and it's just
Your
this really,
accomplishment? Oh my
yeah,
gosh. I
yeah.
love it. I think it's so
And
fantastic.
and both of them have been there throughout all of it. They are my biggest cheerleaders.
Oh, I
And
love
my
that.
sister and my brother.
That's
Yeah.
so significant. It's so special to have that plan because you have a plan. You know what I mean? So that you have an outlook as to I'm going to do this and this is what you know what I mean? And I think sometimes people that's where they get tripped up where and that's probably what I love hearing most about running is that they'll say like from couch potato to marathoner because there's a step, there's an outline, there's a checklist and there are people in our lives that have worked that structure and they can talk about it, inspire, and that's the journey that you get to, celebrate with your dad because he's doing it with you. Some people just think about it and they don't realize that there are people out there that can, will, and would
Yeah.
love to be like, hey, let me give you all the tips. Do not do this, do this. I
Yeah.
recommend this, avoid this. And that's
Mhm.
the partnership, the support system. That's truly what I desire the Worthy Collective to be about because there's so many times that we think we're all by ourselves and we're actually not. It was by choice that we're by ourselves. And I'm independent too. I know it. Yet
Yeah.
there's something special to come alongside somebody who's already done something and said, hey, let's do this together.
Yeah.
So special. Well, Krista, I'm so thankful that you chose in to my invitation and not only the invitation, the Worthy Collective to join us, yet to also be here today because it means a lot that you would share your story. And I believe in I know in my heart that this will touch multiple people because that's what it's meant to do is inspire other like real people, like you have a real story. And I can't wait to read your book when you write
Yeah.
today because that
Yeah.
part, being willing to open up and share based on that journey of real life decision making, like to decide is the greatest gift we give ourselves. And when we partner up with other people who are willing to do that, it's contagious. So I thank you for your precious time.
Yes.
And
Thank you for having me.
and you've added a cheerleader to your section for May 16th. I'm so excited. That would be so awesome. And well, I think we're going to need to do like a 2.0 interview series where we come back
Yeah.
after the interview, we come back after the new job. You know what I mean? To pick up
I
from
would
where.
love that. And then I can brag about all the cool stuff I've done since then.
Yeah, and also give a plug to your the startup, a plug to the
Yeah.
campus, the
Yeah.
operations, because I think that in the world we'll see stuff. And if we turn on our TV or depending on what we're scrolling, we can see a
Mhm.
lot of doom and gloom, and we
Yeah.
forget that for whatever that is the equal to opposite.
Yeah.
And it's there. It's absolutely there. Sometimes it gets kind of, and it's
Yeah.
there. So your story, your share, your opportunity to step in creatively, that's where multiplication truly does happen. That's where quantum leaps, I believe that I've been reading about really happen. And it truly comes back to believing for ourselves for something greater. And you are a beacon of hope. So thank you.